Welcome to the Top 20 Video Game Music Countdown Show with songs chosen by you. Specifically, Zenmis, Steve, Chris, Lenot, Rudy, Syphlin, Prince, and Longbow. This is from Final Fantasy XIII 2. It is Paradigm Shift, the battle theme. On the second month of 2022, we're picking songs from games with the number 2 in the title. Which turns out are all going to be sequels. Some people went even further and got 2 into the track name as well. And there'll be a Nintendo Direct later today that we'll be covering. Man, I absolutely love the juicy synth bass. I think it really distinguishes it from Final Fantasy XIII. It sounds a little more techy, a little more city, a little more busy, a little more flashy, a little younger. Whereas Lightning, the previous protagonist in 13, although you play as a lot of different characters, but shifting mainly from Lightning and her older crew to Lightning's younger sister, I think it works really well, because Lightning being one of the main characters, and I can't even remember his name, Noel. Noel being sort of the younger person in his dynamic with his older mentor, the amazing Caius. I think this gives them more of like a younger person vibe, you know? A little more in your face, a little more upbeat, a little more obnoxious, really futuristic. You're going to be visiting a lot of different time periods. And it's Masashi Uematsu, so of course you have that beautiful violin as a solo lead instrument. Excellent track. That was chosen by Zenmis. Our next track is chosen by Steve. It is also from Final Fantasy II, the battle theme, but this version is the one from Final Fantasy XIV. That is a lot of fun. It definitely, as Prince says, it sounds like kids being naughty in a big castle and having to run back to their rooms for their parents' notice. I really like the Latin feel with that stand-up bass, the way it kind of goes boom, 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 boom. Reminds me of like a 60s heist movie, or like Catch Me If You Can, where maybe you see the hero kind of mischievously running away in those like big side panels where they maybe kind of slice things out and almost make a movie look a bit like a comic book. Just so fun, and then there's such a cool way that they incorporate the original sounds from Final Fantasy II as well. They just are having so much fun in this arrangement with these interesting like lead-ups and stops. They're like little pizzicato. Awesome track. Next up is chosen by Chris from Half-Life 2. This is CP Violation. great track. It really, really builds. It's interesting how Lena was saying he forgets that Half-Life even has a soundtrack. And I would agree, where I feel like the music in Half-Life fits so well that it never sounds like it's trying to get more attention than it needs. It never seems out of place, and the game itself is so immersive, so intense, you're so focused that you don't even breathe to listen to the music. And the music tends to kick in when you're fighting, and after maybe a longer period of walking around, exploring, the immersion, getting some story. And a lot of the action kind of sneaks up on you in Half-Life and becomes very, very intense. Still a very playable game. I played this just a couple years ago for the first time, really, and it was fucking fantastic. The set pieces, the pacing of it, the action, the AI of the enemies. It's still one of the best games out there. Our next pick is from Lenot and Max Payne 2. This is the main theme. Definitely has this very like intimacy to it, with that heartbeat and the strings feeling pretty closely mic'd, especially that lead string instrument that's like quite low. It's like really low and throaty, maybe like a cello or a viola. It definitely, as Prince says, it's like you found out a deep dark family secret. And similar, in a different way, Chris saying like fulfilling an obligation that you're morally opposed to doing, whereas family is an obligation, but it could be a deep dark family secret that you're morally opposed to. really powerful. It just hits you. It's like a landslide of emotion all around you, just crashing down on you, and you have no way to turn away from it at all. Just totally relentless. All right, you want to talk about some gamer cred? Let's talk about Suikoden 2. This is chosen by Rudy, and Rudy gets double points because the track is Due Fiumi, Two Rivers. Owing to the waltzy feel, the sort of 3/4, the 6/8, it gives it a lot more whimsy. The way it's like pounds down on that one, boom, 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 makes it feel sort of like almost like the earth being shook, but then maybe a pussy willow or flowers or seeds or baby spiders sprouting off into the air. There's like sort of a floatingness to it because you don't hear another percussive beat until that heavy one again. And then, like any good JRPG town theme, we've got some nice flutes that give it a bit of like you're visiting another land, but you're hearing that land's tribal music or traditional music. It's got kind of like a heavy importance to it, like the place you're visiting has been there for a long time. Here's another JRPG pick from Syphilin, Wild Arm, Second Ignition, Resistance Line.
Oh, that's a Syphilin pick. 指先を空にかざし西の風を頼りに歪んでる地平線越えてゆこうよその時にその場所に戦う意味あるな
Sorry, guys.
なくすこと恐れずに飛び出してゆく幾千の赤い影たち切りつけたこの腕で悲しい記憶抱きしめ始まる未来その鼓動感じて誰だって本当は誰のことも傷つけたくないと思っているけれど守りたい大切なものあるなら自分にさえあらかうのだろう生きてる今その全てで
Yeah, it definitely has a 90s feel. I think with just the way the rhythms kind of have that. I don't know what you call that. It's sort of like a dense, kind of tribally, almost like Latin or like African kind of percussion, where it's like you're augmenting a drum kit with just a lot of auxiliary stuff all around it. It's got that kind of like rolling, dense rhythm to it. Really sort of jungly, really kind of dancey. But then you got these like big forward Japanese pop melodies for the vocal. It just builds and builds and builds. It's like a real kind of fun, exotic groover in the verse, and the chorus just takes off. Nice track. Our next track chosen by Prince from Resident Evil 2 Remake, Ghost Survivors. This is Kendo's theme. This is a lot of different kind of music. Street Fighter? I could see this being in Street Fighter. It's like such a huge mix of styles, genres, time periods, types of instruments. There's like some classic orchestration and some all the way to like heavy kind of futuristic sounding dub. And this sort of like heist music. I mean, this sounds like it would be the modern theme to GoldenEye. And then this part's so nice too, where it has like a bit of a halftime breakdown with a really optimistic, hopeful kind of chord progression, almost like militaristic or patriotic, but then it's kind of done away with that. It's almost like a futuristic army of dancers, and they're coming to save the world. Speaking of fighting games, this next choice from Longbow from Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is Training Mode. Yeah, it definitely has that sort of casino game show vibe of it being jazzy, but it's sort of like showy. And it's trying to be sort of bright and kind of swanky. It's like positive, but it's not like super cheerful. Well, it's cheerful, but it's not kind. It's more interested in like showing off and like creating a nice atmosphere. Kind of sexy, kind of like there's money, kind of glitzy-ish. Yeah, it definitely sounds like something in between something else. And that's why it fits so well for the training mode, because you're in the training mode. It doesn't really know what you're doing other than you're like showcasing or practicing, and you're sort of like demoing everything your character can do. So it makes sense for this. I guess it could have went with something a little more serious for a training mode to represent like growth and everything, but this is just more like total demo. And then you have this like sparse little band where you're really giving a lot of freedom to the drummer and the bassist and the keys to just jam, basically. And then also doing some like pretty impressive drops with the rhythm. Be a great racing track, although it's got a lot of stops in it. Our next choice is from Zenmis. We're back to the beginning. This is Danganronpa 2, Ekoroshiya. This is like a pretty heavy, jamming, rockin'. I really like it's almost got like a kind of a demented circus vibe to it. Like you found some kind of underground Polish circus group. It's like it's going to dance, and it's going to sort of like forcibly take you by the hand and move you up in these jagged, angular movements. It's like funky, but it's kind of robotic in a way. Like whoever's dancing with you, they're having a good time, but they might be on some kind of stimulant. Our next one, chosen by Steve, is from Beaten Katos Origins, which is a sequel. Doesn't have the number 2 in it. It is La Ali del Principo. Well, that's a really nice track. It's a bit of a grower. It feels like it's sort of soundtracking you watching a movie of some kind, because it tends to kind of sit in the background a bit. It's a really dense production, and I think it would be helped if it wasn't as compressed, because they're just really throwing everything at you, and it sounds like it's coming up to a very like climactic, emotional part in the story, composed by Motoi Sakuraba and written by his wife and their daughter, the one singing. This is the final boss battle theme? Wow. It's quite relaxed for a final boss battle theme, which is nice. I mean, final bosses are just an eventuality to be destroyed. It's a really beautiful looking game. What was this for? Looks like PS1 or 2. Either late PS1 or early PS2. Looks good, sounds good. Our next one, chosen by Chris from Halo 2 in Amber Clad. It was kind of understated. It does have a feel like it's building up to something pretty big. These are some pretty nostalgia-ish, contemplative strings. And then a nice bassy groove, because Halo is surprisingly ambient and groovy. And it definitely has that feel. I mean, this is like a really satisfying chord progression of like, yeah, it's time to do it. It definitely has like a walking in slow motion towards the ending. Like you've either completed it or you're leading up to the final and you know you're going to win. I mean, this would be a good credits theme to me. And I like how much that electric guitar stands out by not being overly distorted. It's kind of like, it's sort of like an interesting hero where the guitar is dirty because it needs to get the job done, but it's not out of control distorted. It still has personality. You can still hear everything it's doing. Our next choice, chosen by Lee Knott from Mafia 2, the main theme. Pretty dramatic track. Definitely sounds like it's I mean, this is the main theme, so I guess they're letting just the title show up, or perhaps like letting the game demonstration roll forward, showing like a big hypercut of all the different characters. Be a good trailer for it. Sounds like you're watching a lot of story or build-up or something. Another build-up, but less satisfying. Yeah, more abrasive, intense. No, we're watching some idiots in a nightclub. Need to go back and like see some dramatic stuff happening. Here's his dad beating him up for stealing his hat. Press the left mouse button for punching. Feels so weird. For a little break, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more tracks to go. Let's tell you and let you guess the top 3 best-selling video games with the number 2 in their title. All 3 of these are sequels to the game that would be the first, either in that franchise or in that series. At number 3, we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the third best-selling sequel game. At number 2, we have Borderlands 2. Isn't that amazing? Borderlands 2. I guess it's just there wasn't. If you don't make a third game for a long time, people keep buying that second one. And at number 1, the best-selling video game with the number 2 in the title just so happens to be Any guesses? Yeah, like Lynette says, this is from Red Dead Redemption 2. Modern Warfare 2, number 3. Borderlands number 2 is 2. And Red Dead Redemption 2, the best-selling sequel ever. Moving right along, we've got a track from the second best-selling sequel of all time, Borderlands 2. This is chosen by Prince, and it is Singing Psycho. Loud and clear.
He wanted me to sing my heart out, so I snatched it from his chest. Play the song! Faster! Get to the bridge, or I'll throw you screaming off of it! The murder music commences! This is a song from my mommy mom, singing hummy hum till you're in my tum. 3 swinging midge, all in my fridge, teeth a rattle tatin', nice and shakin'. Soon my nasal spray will be 3 midgy fillets, warming up my tummy just like my mummy. Hello, who are you today, tonight? Do you think my face looks alright in this light? Sometimes I think maybe I should drink, but then I feel a sudden that maybe I should summon someone to feed me that will never leave me. But then I'll be not who I say is me. But then a little bee said to me, it's better to transcend reality. So though I may be very senseless, I can keenly see great immenses. Doodle, all the noodles come to play with me. Thank you. He wanted me to sing my heart out, so I snatched it from his chest.
All right, well, that was from Borderlands. I like the sound of the piano. It's interesting that he's singing the Christmas Carol theme of like dun ba da dun dun da da dun dun da da dun bum ba da dun. I've always said Tales of the Borderlands is one of the funniest games I've played, and wondered if Borderlands is funny. This hasn't got me any closer to finding out if Borderlands 2 is as funny. Next up, we have a Cyclone pick from Len N2. Sword title theme, repose that detests even good luck. Needs umbrella. Pretty simple track. We just got a melodic phrase that repeats and changes key. And just some strings that go up and down, and a simple kind of drum beat. Probably all you really want to be listening to when you're dealing with 4,000 bullets a minute, trying to get your thrill score up and keeping your power at max. And it's just the title theme? Okay, so... Oh, there it opens up a little bit. Yeah, but a simple and effective track. I think it would set the stage nicely for the title theme. Well, would you look at that? Rudy picked something from Sen no Kiseki 2, Blue Destination. Get dramatic, baby. Ooh. Really nice. I feel like I'm riding a magic dolphin. Or you've gotten to that part in the JRPG to kick off the final act when things seem their worst, and all of a sudden you discover an airship / watership that's taking you and the team. I love that sort of ocean mist. Captive waifu. We're gonna break you out. So you can be mine, whether you like it or not. Because you're programmed to like me. Really nice track. You know, simple but like really lush production. It's very hopeful. Just, yeah, it sounds like it's emerging out of the water into the sunlight. The next track, chosen by Longbow, was composed by Yoko Shimomura. It is called Sacred Moon. Man, Yoko Shimomura, so good. This is probably, out of most of the Yoko Shimomura tracks that we play, this feels the most different. It's the most, it's not very reliant on piano, although, I mean, she's obviously probably playing most of these MIDI sequence instruments, performing them on some kind of a MIDI keyboard. But it's like really choir heavy, but it still has that repeated figure underneath of like harp, and there's some piano. There's that golden crispy piano. It's a nice one. It definitely sounds like you're constantly ascending towards something with that really light rhythm that is just progressing. Like you're taking one small step at a time, slowly elevating. The choirs give it an importance. It's understated. It's a tense theme. And I'm sure it fits exactly. I don't recall what game this is for. The game does have a 2 in it, but I'm sure it fits whatever crazy ass wacko bullshit game she was hired to compose for, and she probably made that scene so much better and probably added some sense of logic and cohesion and an effective emotional response that probably was totally missing in the game that it's in. So, Yoko Shimomura, one of the greatest of all time, who's made music for some of the greatest games of all time, and a few of the worst. You like Japanese games? From Zenmus, Xenoblade Chronic number 2, the World Tree theme. Track. It's got a nice heavy bass groove, some kind of almost proggy drums, and some really plinkety splinkety spacey beeps and boops. Just like creates a really nice atmosphere. I think the World Tree would be sort of stuck up its own ass, up its own roots, and be more of a pretentious theme. I mean, hence these choirs coming in. Like he stuffs 10 choir men and women in some hole in the ground so they can be brought out to honor the tree. Next up from Bravely Default 2, this is the Asterisk boss battle theme chosen by Steve. Yeah, the track's a lot of fun. It's really busy. Sounds like a modern JRPG boss theme. Pretty dancey. Orchestra everywhere. Big MIDI trumpets, guitars. It's got everything going on. I mean, it's really elevated. You've got these key changes that are modulating it up higher. Yeah, very, very hectic. Fucking wind chime. Once you hear a wind chime, you know they're throwing everything into the pot. And turning up the heat. Next up, we have a track from Dying Light 2, chosen by Chris. This is Breath of the City. Nice track. It's got that kind of the sounds remind me and the feel of, say, cyberpunk. Almost like the sounds are being like pulled and sort of stretched, and they sound like some old analog synths, but then with a nice kind of that like pumping compression of modern dance music. This track's interesting because it goes from being pretty like sort of like dark and a bit scary to opening up to this bright day. Maybe after you're dealing with like a bunch of zombies and claustrophobia, you eventually come across a city with a bit of hope to it. And then night comes and everybody's fucking terrified. Our last track will be from Chris. This is Red Alert 2. Grinder. interesting metal bass. When is the Steam Deck coming out? Oh yeah, what's going on? What is our thing going to be for next week? And that's it. Great track. A lot of fun. If you're watching on YouTube, see you next time.